Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you liked the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and I'd like to give special thanks to my producer who's making it happen this morning, Mr. Jeremiah Long. So if you liked the video today, please come in and share it. When you look at the National Football League and you look at the history of the game, there's been some great players that's played at a high level. Today, the most overlooked player in the National Football League in my time has to be Mr. Corey Bacon, defensive end out of Jackson State University, by way of the LA Rams, by way of the Washington Redskins, by way of the Cincinnati Bengals. When you're talking about a young man that was an outstanding football player, but a guy that people don't even talk about today, 6'4", 270 pounds. He was a two-time All-Pro player, three-time Pro Bowler for 1972, 1976, and 1977. He was the NFL sack leader in one season in 1976. He was a member of the 1967 NFL draft, which he went undrafted. He made the Cincinnati Bengals' 50th anniversary team. His career total, as he played in the National Football League for 15 years, is 130 career sacks. But this is what really sticks out in my mind why he's the most overlooked player. He played in 180 games. And he came, as I just mentioned, out of the 1967 NFL draft when you had the likes of Bubba Smith, Bob Greasy, George Webster, Floyd Little, Mel Farr, Alan Page, Gene Upshaw. And then he signed with the LA Rams. Played a few years there. But in 1969, he was part of the fearsome foursome. Some people say the greatest defensive line that ever played in the National Football League, made up of Deacon Jones, Marilyn Olsen, Roger Brown, and Lamar Lundy. And he made his way there. But what sticks out in my mind, in 1971 with the Rams, he had 11 sacks. He had an 87-yard interception return as he was traded to the San Diego Chargers. Then he was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals in 1976, where he had 21 and a half sacks. Then finally, in 1980, as a veteran with the Washington Redskins, going back not only 1980, but 1979. 1979, he had 13.5 sacks. And then the following year, in 1980, he had 11 sacks on the end of his career. But when you look at Corey Bacon at 6'4", 270 pounds, and you look at his sacks total of 130 sacks, there's a problem that I'm asking myself why he's not in the Hall of Fame. They say he was malcontent, a guy that stuck up when things weren't going right within the team. He didn't want to play defensive tackle a lot of times. But when you look at the overall career this gentleman has had as a pass rusher, 130 career sacks, I'm going to keep saying that. You got to put him up there with some of the greatest that's ever played this game. Reggie White, Deacon Jones, as I just mentioned, Bruce Smith, Derek Thomas. He's just as good as any of them rushing the passer if you want to look at NFL history. Then you look at the skill set with Corey Bacon. Instincts as a defensive end, A+. Reacting on the move as a defensive end, A+. Explosive as a defensive end, A+. The tackling ability as a defensive end, A+. The separation of taking your game at another high level as a defensive end, A+. The use of hands as a defensive end, A+. Quickness as a defensive end, A+. The effort, let me say this one more time, effort in the mortar. When you stood across from Corey Bacon, you better be ready to play all day, all night, all game. Go back and look at his film. He was relentless, A+. Power rusher, A+. As I just mentioned, the mortar, A+. Blind side pass rusher, A+. And feet as light as a ballet dancer, A+. As I said before I started this video today, it's been a lot of great football players that's played the defensive end position in the National Football League. A lot of people will argue with you that Bruce Smith and Deacon Jones were one of the two of the best that played this game. But if you go back and look at the old films from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, I hate to say this, but Coy Bacon could be mentioned as one of the greatest that's ever done it at the defensive end position. And being undrafted in the 1967 NFL draft, there's something that needs to be taken about that. Think about the players that was in that draft. Bubba Smith, Bob Greasy, George Webster, Floyd Little, Mel Farr, Alan Page, and Gene Upshaw. Alan Page is a Hall of Famer. Gene Upshaw is a Hall of Famer. And Floyd Little is a Hall of Famer out of that class. And I would say this, Coy Bacon out of Jackson State University, a guy that played with a lot of players that was great during the early 60s, from Taft Reed to Frank Molden to Al Greer, a young sophomore by the name of Lynn Barney and Roy Corey. Those some great football players at Jackson State. For that gentleman, Coy Bacon, I would say, let me say it one more time. Floyd Little was a Hall of Famer. Gene Upshaw was a Hall of Famer. And Alan Page was a Hall of Famer. Pound for pound, Coy Bacon is a better football player than all those three gentlemen that I just mentioned in the 1967 NFL draft, and he went undrafted. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. The most overlooked player in NFL history, Coy Bacon, by way of Jackson State University out of Jackson, Mississippi, the LA Rams, the San Diego Chargers, and the Washington Redskins. He was a hell of a football player, and he can get after the passer, and he was mean as hell. I'd like to say thank you. I've been Vincent Turner here on 100 Yards of Football, and special thanks to my producer, Mr. Jeremiah Long. Y'all be blessed here today on 100 Yards of Football.